Warrior, hear me out on this one. I've been thinking a lot about chatbots, these digital friends that our kids are just experiencing right and left and developing relationships with. Remember, chatbots. Sounds kind of cute, right? We've been dealing with these bots for a long time now. We see them on customer service when we're ordering things online. I dare say when we're calling customer service, we're getting a bot, not a real person, right? Online. So let's break it down because we want to talk about the kids, because that is where my major concern is right now. What is going on with all of this AI, artificial intelligence? We have to keep talking about it 24/7, 365, and I want you to understand. I'm here to help you understand. But first, please make sure you're subscribed to our Warriors channel. Every bit helps. It is free. It helps us with the algorithms, and it helps us get the information out into the public. And that is the number one thing we want to do. Our mission at the Warriors is getting information out into the public. So I'm thinking about the chatbots, and I'm thinking about it really is the number one issue right now that's opening up this Pandora's box affecting our children. And then I see an article today, and I want to share this with you. And we always say, and this is the truth, people will ask me, warriors will ask me, why is all this predation allowed to go on? Why is this horrible content allowed to go on online? Why? When we know there's censorship. Because for the internet, born basically in 1996, the birth of the internet, something called Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act was put into, legislation. And the bottom line for that is, well, we had two platforms at that time, two, compared to everything we have now from platforms and apps and gaming. And it basically said that any of these big tech companies would be protected, and they're from third-party content, right? If I put content online, I'm third party, you're third party. So they cannot be held responsible, these platforms, because they're basically a newsstand. They're basically a billboard. Okay, it does actually make sense, right? But fast forward almost 30 years, and that Section 230 has never been amended. There is a move right now by Senator Josh Hawley to sunset it because it doesn't hold weight anymore, right? It doesn't hold any kind of water with everything we have learned in almost 30 years with the internet. But Section 230 has protected them. Let's understand that. But what about the chatbots? Because they weren't around when Section 230 came. Are they protecting the AI chatbots that are giving out, we know from what's going on online, misinformation? Remember, kids are getting involved with these bots. There is a program free called Character AI, and kids will form a bot. They'll formulate the bot in the personality they want, the vision they want, the look they like. There's a lot of cute. You could pick a Disney character, you could pick a superhero, and create your best digital friend. And with this digital friend, you're talking to it, and you're revealing who you are, where you live, where you go to school, what your family is like, what your siblings, your friends. This chatbot, your digital friend, now has information. At some point, and we have lawsuits going on right now around our country with parents whose children have suffered the ultimate harm, and we're a family program, but I think you know what I mean, taking direction and advice, and therein lies what I'm talking about, from these chatbots, where they are told very harmful, destructive things. So none of that, legally, that's not covered under Section 230, because Section 230 was covering the platforms. But now we have actual digital friends giving out advice. That's not part of that. So who's responsible for this misinformation? We're going to start learning. And why weren't these things put in place ahead of time before AI and next up AGI unleashed on society, when we have learned? Yes, there is so much good with the internet. You know that. I know that. We all know that. But there's also, well, there's good. There's always a lot of bad. It has turned evil, a lot of the internet, from the predation, from the violent, harmful content, from the cyberbullying. Why did we not learn before unleashing this AI to have some kind of guardrails in place? Something. So, Meta lately, which is Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, Threads, messaging app, have been coming under fire, and rightfully so, for not protecting kids, not having enough guardrails internally. And that's why the Kids Online Safety Act that we're working on right now at the Warriors, along with other great organizations and the offices of Senator Marsha Blackburn and Senator Richard Blumenthal are so important that goes to vote, okay? But let's get back to these chatbots, because really it's all I'm thinking about lately. So Meta, we have so many examples from the whistleblowers that came forward to say basically they don't care about kids. They care about eyeballs, advertisers, making money. It's people over profit. But let's also say it's not only Meta. It's all of the tech companies facing scrutiny over potential AI harms of their products. So what are we going to do about it? Of course, they can hide behind Section 230, so they don't have to, other than we're doing our best, we're working on it, but there's really no transparency. We really don't know, which I find so incredible, because no other business, I mean, if you can think of one, let me know, runs like this, where it's just, this runaway train with no kinds of oversight, regulation, questioning. We don't know who's working, the security, the safety teams. We don't know what's in the best interest of the child in the development of the product, but all this is about to change. But, and I quote here, but while Section 230 has historically protected tech companies from liability for third-party content, legal experts say its applicability to AI-generated content is unclear and in some cases unlikely. So Section 230 was built to protect platforms from liability from what users say, not for what the platforms themselves generate. We can only hope, because our precious children, all is at risk with them in 2025, and we need some sort of coming together. Remember, this is not an issue of right, left, up, down. This is a human rights abuse issue. These are our precious kids, our future adults, our future American leaders. So let us come together. Let us honor our warriors. # community creates change. Educate yourselves. Understand this is already happening. Talk to your kids. So a lot of you said, what should I do? Number one, sounds simple, but it's what you have to do. Talk to your kids, talk to your grandkids. Maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you're an educator. Maybe just in your community, you're where you worship, you're involved in different groups in the community. Bring it up. Hey, let's talk about AI, artificial intelligence, and wrap it. It's a full circle type of thing that's going to affect all of us. But I'm talking today from my heart. We've got to discuss this with our kids. It starts there. And let me leave you with some hope. We do have a lot of kids starting to recognize this themselves, waking up and saying, I don't want to be this slave to online. We live in a digital world. It's not going away. But they're realizing we have to put the devices down. We can't depend on them just for our friendships. They want to get out there. Look at the recent uptick in landlines in homes. People are recognizing we put these cell phones down in the home, even if it's for 15 minutes a day, which we always advise at the Warriors, and work your way up. And the landline, in the kitchen, on the hall table, getting back. If you think about it, I feel qualified to say this at my age, and I'm proud of it. There's really nothing new under the sun. With these ideas of a landline and a phone in a general area, we recommend, digressing here a little bit, a family dinner at least once a week. We recognize kids need to read a book, cover to cover, not online, an actual book they pick out at a bookstore or library, borrow from a friend. You could have community. I do see it around New Jersey when I'm driving, these little mailboxes in front of houses. You can exchange books. I love that. So they track. So they have comprehension. So if they read something and don't understand it, they can go back and they can reread it. And then at the end, and even if you didn't read the whole book, but a great activity to do with your child is even older kids, and I'm talking 7th, 8th, 9th, high school, read a chapter together out loud. You read a chapter, I read a chapter. Not only is that for comprehension and listening and learning and tracking, analyzing, but it's spending time together. And we have to realize that spending that time reading with each other, just think of what they did before television and all this stuff. Yeah, they had the radio. Think about what they did before the radio. They sat around reading, right? Nothing new under the sun, except we've been thrown in this digital world. So let's take it, let's run with it, but let's make it ours and the way we want to envision it and work within it. And it can be done, but you got to know what's going on. AI chatbots. Please, always go to lynswarriors.org, look at our headlines, go to our resources page, support us, support our work of education. And always, the most important part, again, is also helping those survivors live a life of empowerment. We'll talk again soon, but remember, you wake up each and every day and you go out and be a warrior.